Hello, everyone, and welcome to our first official product club of 2025. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Lou, the Pathfinder Community Manager, and I'm so excited to be here kicking off this program. We're going to have so much fun today. We are going to dive into AI Agent Studio and skill stacking with two of my most favorite teammates here at Automation Anywhere, Jason and Oli. But please don't tell anyone that because I don't want them to get mad at me. Okay. And
You were one of my favorite
yeah.
teammates until you said first official product club. What about the product clubs I ran like a month ago at Pathfinder Summit? They don't count all of a
Those
sudden?
were Product Club Super Sessions. They were a special gem of a session.
I mean, potato, Lou. Crikey.
Okay, great. So we can go ahead and take a look at today's official Product Club agenda. First, we are going to get an overview of AI Agent Studio and information that aligns with our most recent release and go through a short demo with Jason, our Director of Product. And then we will hand over the reins to Oli, who's already giving me attitude so early on in the session. He's our principal developer evangelist. He's going to walk us through skill stacking and how that leads to additional value creation. Along the way, we will be asking for engagement from you. Get ready to answer some poll questions. We're going to throw those in and also prompt you to add stuff to the chat. Just a reminder, your input not only helps the flow of the session, but it really does help to answer questions the product team may need to support some of their roadmaps, some of the stuff they're working on. So it really is valuable and very much appreciated. After that, we'll end the session with Q&A, and I'll be sad to see everyone go, and then you'll be prompted with a feedback survey to complete. Before we get started, I do have a couple of shameless Pathfinder community plugs, and as I'm making them, I'd love for you all to dive into the chat and let us know where you're joining from. And if you'd like to connect, go ahead and drop your LinkedIn there as well. I made so many great connections during Pathfinder Summit, and I hope you did too. And this was one of the ways that we did so. So here's another opportunity. Dive in, drop them in there. Let us know where you're joining from. I am joining from Golden, Colorado, where it is very snowy today and very cold. I think it's 9 degrees Fahrenheit, so very cold. Now, on to Pathfinder news. Here we go. We are launching a new role within the Pathfinder community called a community captain. As a community captain, you'll have the opportunity to lead discussions and build connections around topics that matter most to you, whether that's your industry expertise, professional role, or specific automation interests. We are having an info meeting on February 19th at 12 p.m. Eastern Time. So if this sounds like something you'd be interested in, click the link that I'm posting in the chat and register to attend. It really is going to be a super great time. Speaking of events, I urge you all to head to our events page in the community and subscribe to it so you can be updated whenever we post a new event. Some of the events that we're having this year are first come, first serve, very similar to some of the networking sessions that we had at Pathfinder Summit. So it's beneficial to get notified as soon as something's posted. I've created this QR code on the right-hand side of the page that will take you to the events page in the community. Once there, you'll just click on the orange subscribe button and you are good to go. And finally, if you haven't already completed or updated your community profile information in the community, please do so that you can become a verified member and get a super fancy purple check mark next to your profile picture. This will help us customize your entire community experience, and who doesn't love something tailored to them? So do it if you haven't, and if you have, thank you, because it is a big help to us and it helps your experience. Now, before we get going, some session reminders. This session is being recorded. The recap will be shared in the community afterwards. There's also an opportunity at the end of the webinar to share product feedback and impact development. So fill it out. Don't be shy. Your input helps us more than you know. And before I introduce Jason and Oli, I'm going to ground us in today's session by learning how far you've come with AI agents. So I'm going to go ahead and launch our first poll. Do you know where you will implement your first AI agent? not a clue. I have some ideas. Yes, I do. Psst, already done it. And then agent what? Let us know.
Hosts and panelists can't vote. What a shame. It's about to
You're gonna juice it up.
boost those votes for the
Yeah,
agents.
right.
All right. Going to end the poll and share these results. So we have some folks, mostly folks have some idea, some have not a clue, some know, some people have already done it. And then agent what? Thank you guys. Now let's go ahead and meet our panelists. Jason and Oli. I'm going to give them some rapid fire questions so we can get to know them. Jason, starting with you. Just like everyone else, where are you logging in from today?
I'm logging in from a very rainy eastern part of Texas here today. It's unseasonably rainy for us. It probably feels a lot like what Ollie and Jose are having in London today, would be my guess.
That's rough. And then what is your current role at Automation Anywhere?
So currently I'm on the product team here at Automation Anywhere, which means I get the unique ability and opportunity to work with customers and helping shape how they're building their automations, but more specifically, how they're taking advantage of generative AI. And I look after our AI Agent Studio offering. There's a number of you that don't know much about agents, so I'm really excited that you guys are here today. We're gonna take a little deep dive into what AI Agent Studio is, and I'm really excited to be able to share the product with you.
Great, thank you. And then, so this is a little bit motivated by some of the Pathfinder community signups that I've seen. So we've seen a lot of them from college students, which is really cool. So I thought it'd be fun to take a trip to the past and find out what was your first job and what did it teach you?
So my first job, does it have to be out of college or first job ever?
It could be either one.
Okay, all right. Let's go with the one out of college one because it's
Okay.
less interesting. First job out of college was I went to go work for an electric producer here in the United States. We are going through deregulation, and they just hired a whole bunch of college kids. Basically, we were cheap labor, and they needed us to go and build some systems. And so it taught me a lot. It taught me that the real world was a little bit different than I thought it was going to be in college. All those classes that I decided to sleep through and not go to, I had to actually show up on time for this job. But it also taught me the sort of the payoff of working hard, and you work hard at work, you get recognized for that, and you progress and move along. So that coupled with happy hours are fun was a great kind of first 2 years out of college.
Awesome, thank you. And what's your favorite game?
Ooh, favorite game. We have this game that we play with my family. It's called Taco Cat Goat Cheese Pizza. It's a card game.
Love that game.
It's a
Yes.
card game, and it's the only game that I found that my wife is not amazing at. In fact, she's the worst one in the entire family. So it gives all of us a lot of joy to watch her, put a card down and do narwhal, but it's actually a gorilla. It's unbelievable.
That's awesome. Thanks. And I was gonna do Ollie as well, but he gave me attitude at the beginning of this, so we're gonna go ahead and skip him and get started. Okay, Ollie, where are you logging in from?
I am logging in from a somewhat grey and typical London, unfortunately. So yeah, it's sadly that yourself and Jason are the brightest thing that I've got today, but alas, here we are.
You are so lucky to have us here.
I know.
What is your current role at Automation Anywhere?
So I am a principal developer evangelist, which is a pretty fancy way of saying that I'm responsible for helping our, well, perhaps not just developer community, but wider users of automation anywhere, kind of distill all of the amazing, brilliant features that Jason and team are building and relate that to ideally value that they can begin to generate within their organization. So it's part thought leader, part technician, part just roll your sleeves up, get stuck in and help customers get some value. So it's a mix of things, but I love it.
Yeah, I love that. And what was your first job and what did it teach you?
So my I was going to go with my one out of college, but it was pretty boring. So it was accountancy, which is not the most thrilling thing to be talking about in product club. But the one I'm going to talk about is I worked in we have a thing in the UK called tea room. You know, we like afternoon tea and scones. So I was I was responsible for essentially waiting tables, and I can honestly say to this day it's the hardest job I've ever done. It was mentally exhausting. People in the UK demanded their scones and their jam and their cream and their teas promptly. There would be in the summer months just queues of people out the door. So you were attacked mentally, you were attacked physically, and by the end of it, you couldn't really do a whole lot. And at least in my role as developer evangelist, it's only my brain which suffers. Physically, I'm generally okay at the end of the day. But yeah, that was just an assault on everything.
And what's your favorite game?
Favorite game? So I would say video game at the minute. I'm playing Cyberpunk 2077. Absolutely love that. So that's right up there. But in terms of board game, it's got to be Monopoly. Monopoly. It just crushing people and making underhand deals. Just yeah, never gets boring.
That's awesome. Everyone on the call, go ahead, drop your favorite game in the chat. As you are doing that, I'm going to launch our second poll. Oh, my favorite game is Slay. It's a card game, like RPG style, where you're heroes and you slay dragons. It's really cool. If you're into that, you should check it out. All right. What are the most popular types of models you're connecting to within your organization? Models provided by hyperscalers, Azure, Amazon Bedrock, OpenAI, Google Vertex, AI hosted in public cloud, models provided by hyperscalers. Did I do those same one twice?
One's hosted in public, one's hosted in private.
Oh, okay. Hosted in, yeah. Okay, perfect. Open source models, private models are company built and hosted internally, others or none. Okay, I'm going to end the poll and we can look at this. So 31% said models provided by hyperscalers in public cloud. Next up is none. Then we have models provided by hyperscalers in private cloud, and then private models. Good to know. Thank you, everyone.
Great to see.
And with that, I am going to go ahead and kick it over to you, Jason.
Awesome. Thanks very much. Really excited to join everybody today. I'm going to take a couple minutes really just to ground everyone in exactly what AI Agent Studio is, talk to you a little bit about our perspective on agents before we get into a quick demo on the tools and capabilities that we ship within the platform and some of the most recent updates since I think I joined many of you back in probably, what was it, November, Lou, something like that, maybe December, for one of our last product clubs. And then I'm going to hand it over to Oli, and he's going to tell you how to supercharge your abilities to take advantage of everything we built. I'm going to start with this concept around the different waves or generations of automation. Many of you know us as one of the founders and really the leaders in the RPA space, where we typically see customers focusing on task-based automations. Now, what we recognize is that if you just do the task-based automations, you're definitely going to get a ton of value out of that. But if you think of the entire end-to-end business process, probably only able to capture about 20 to 30% of that from an automation perspective. We added new capabilities. This was a number of years ago around things like our process discovery tool, which allows you to go and uncover and discover more business processes, as well as things like our document automation capability, which really served for sort of this second wave of intelligent automation. Again, in this particular instance, though, you're able to go and capture more of the capabilities or more of the automation opportunities, but there's still a gap. And we always felt like we wanted to go and find a way to solve that gap for our customers, because we knew that you could get up to maybe even the top end of 80% of that entire business process being able to be automated. That's why we're so excited about all of the advancements recently over the last several weeks, months, and years with generative AI, and this whole new category that we're labeling and really participating and helping define, which is agentic process automation. So agentic process automation, if you're not aware, looks to go and combine the power of generative AI, large language models, with platforms like ours that are action platforms that are able to go and automate tasks and allow customers to go and really take away a lot of the human intervention in many of the business processes they do. And the superpower here is that before, a lot of those 60 to 40% of the business process you couldn't automate was because a human had to be involved. They had to take a look at data. They had to go and pull data from multiple different systems and analyze that. They needed to go and create something. And it was something that with the traditional, more deterministic ways that we built RPA processes, we just couldn't accomplish. So AI agents are here to go and solve that for you. They're able to go and take away a lot of the larger analytical type of tasks that you have to spend time on and allow you to go and actually get way more throughput, complete way more instances of total business processes, and actually automate more of the opportunities across your organization. This next slide will actually take us into a deeper breakdown into exactly some of the differences we see between traditional automation on the left. So that's going to be, probably what a lot of you have built historically. Simple tasks, very deterministic and rules-based, working with structured known data that doesn't change often or doesn't change very frequently, and has a definite perspective or inclusion of humans within those business processes. Now, if we compare that or contrast that to agentic process automation, we see some key differences. First of all, while RPA is great at handling bespoke, individual, atomic tasks, agentic process automation really has the ability to go and do end-to-end business processes. And this is processes that span teams, departments, groups, business units, your entire organization. It's because of the investments we've made over the last several years with a process orchestration capability, now coupled with the capability of AI agents, we're able to go and solve a lot more of these problems. And by their nature, agents are dynamic and adaptive. Essentially, what that means is you can go and throw a question or a problem, or in our case, a prompt at an LLM, and it can come back with a recommendation on how to go and solve that. It can also go and create and generate content for you in ways that you couldn't really build rules around ahead of time. Speaking of the data that it works with, LLMs are fantastic at working with both structured and unstructured data. Again, unstructured data was the part that we typically use humans for. You might want to go and need to read all the details of a contract, right? You might need to then go and compare that against some historical structured data. Combining both of those in an RPA process is incredibly difficult. It makes it very, very big and bloated and can be quite fragile. With LLMs, they can handle both of those different types of data sets with ease and in a very efficient way. And we haven't gotten rid of humans. We're not quite there yet. In fact, we still need humans really, and they're moving more into a supervisory role. So whenever I talk about agents, I always like to think about them as additional members of your team that are digitally focused. So in the same way that you have supervisors within your business that look after teams of individuals, it's the exact same experience, except we're now enabling inline knowledge workers to actually be those supervisors. They can manage the execution of the agents. They can review the content. They can make decisions and actually improve the efficacy and the accuracy of those agents over time. Now, all of this is wrapped within a responsible AI use and enterprise-grade governance capabilities, and we'll show you more of what that looks like here in a second. So on the next slide, I think we talk a little bit about what the sort of total platform is capable of. And we're gonna start by talking about exactly what it means for us when we talk about or reference an AI agent. You've probably heard a lot about AI agents. Some of you, maybe this is the first time you're hearing about it, but it sounded like a lot of you had at least heard of this, but you weren't really sure where to start. Whenever we think about agents, it's really comprised of two parts. So the first is going to be what we refer to as an AI skill. Now, AI skills are a new portion of the control room and a new asset within the repository, and they allow you to go and connect to whatever large language model you want to connect to. So we're an open platform. We have pre-built connectors for all the large hyperscalers. So I was really excited to see the responses from customers earlier. It seems like most of you are deploying known models on either public or private cloud. Some of you, though, are doing your own private model development. We totally have support for that, as well as for open source solutions like Hugging Face and others. We know, though, that many reasons that customers don't go wider with generative AI is because challenges with the accuracy of that data. And so we make it possible for you to go and ground your prompts and the reasoning that the model does in your own data, your enterprise data. This could be sales contracts, this could be legal agreements, this could be, whatever, a knowledge base, whatever you really want to utilize. We have a native offering that's called Enterprise Knowledge that we actually just introduced in our most recent release. And this joins our ability to go and support RAG providers from things like AWS Bedrock, as well as Google Vertex AI, and we're bringing support for Azure in the near future. And then lastly, we provide tooling to go and actually write a prompt and tune that as you go and integrate with that model. So once you've built that skill, this is reusable across all of your automations. And combining that with action, which is, we're a fantastic action platform, giving you the ability to take advantage of UI and API automation, having over 170 different pre-built integrations into various different enterprise systems, along with the ability to go and build new ones all the time. We think that Automation Anywhere is a fantastic location to actually go build and run your AI agents at scale. Next slide, please, Lou. So there's 3 different kind of parts of AI Agent Studio that I want to highlight, and you'll see some of these in our demonstration here today. All of our tooling is built natively into the control room. So it's the same low-code, no-code development experience that you've had the opportunity to take advantage of before. It also means that you don't have to jump into another set of either data science or hyperscaler-specific tooling in order to go and connect to your automations. Secondly, as I mentioned earlier, we have ship support for our new enterprise knowledge retrieval augmented generation, or RAG capability. This is going to improve the outcomes or the accuracy of those responses from models because it's utilizing your data in a secure and safe way. And then surrounding all of this is a deep level of governance. We are able to go and track all the interactions from the models. We're able to coalesce those and show those to get those to you in a combined area. We provide dashboarding and tooling on top of that. And we've got some great new capabilities that are coming in the future, improving the ability to go and make sure that you're ensuring that the data that you're sending over to the models isn't accidentally leaking customer data, but we'll save that for a future product club. Next slide, please. So I'm gonna highlight 3 new features really quickly, and I'm actually gonna take you into these and show you what they look like. Pardon me. The first is what we're calling custom model definitions. So we ship a number of pre-built connectors to different models on different hyperscalers, but we know that some of you are building your own models. New models are being introduced all the time. Some of you are even having a need to go through a common LLM gateway before you can connect to a model. So we build custom model definitions as a way to allow you to go and connect to whatever model you want, bring all of those models natively into AI Agent Studio, surface those up as what are called model connections, and then you get all the great goodness of role-based access and control, the ability to reuse those. You build them one time, reuse those across all your different automations and agents, and of course, all of the great AI governance tracking that I talked about earlier. So we'll show you an example of this here in the demo. I think in the next slide, we're going to talk about one of my most exciting features that we just shipped. It's called AI skill templates. So as I mentioned earlier, AI skills are how you write your prompt, connect to a model, ground that in enterprise data, and then go and use that in your agents or with your automations. But we know that for a lot of our customers, that blank screen was really hard. What prompt do I write? How do I write it the right way? I'm not a prompt engineer. I have to go look at examples. I bring that in. What if we could give you fantastic examples to get started with? And so we shipped about 20 plus different AI skill templates initially, and we're going to be bringing more over time. We focus them across different parts of the business like service ops, finance, marketing, HR, and others. And you can also go and take any of the skills that you build, save those as templates internally, and make those super easy for the rest of your teams to go and utilize. We think this is one of the best ways to go wide with generative AI because it enforces the ability to go and build once and reuse and share across the entire organization. And then lastly, as I mentioned earlier, we did introduce our own capability to provide retrieval augmented generation or RAG abilities within the platform. So if you're not an Amazon Bedrock or Google Vertex or an Azure user or customer, but you do want to go and improve the accuracy of those results, you can utilize enterprise knowledge. You can upload your content there, and then it natively integrates directly into AI Agent Studio. So I think with that, I'm going to go ahead and jump directly into a demo. And I want to make this short because I want to make sure we give Oli all of his time to get going. Let me just share my desktop real quick. And here we go. So I'm starting within the control room. I mentioned earlier, we've got a great set of governance dashboards. This is showing you some of the insights into the different models we're using in this environment. You get details into their utilization. You can even see things like token consumption as an example. And it's a really great way to give you that 10,000 foot view of how generative AI is being used in your environment. But we're going to start with some of the new capabilities that I mentioned earlier around model connections. And so I'm going to show you a couple different ways to actually go and expand the number of models that you have access to within your environment. So as I mentioned earlier, we're an open platform. If I jump into model connections, this is model connections. If you haven't seen this before, this is how you integrate into models and use those within skills and across your automations. So today you'll note we ship a number of these out of the box. Amazon Bedrock, Automation Anywhere, this is our new RAG offering, as well as some other different hyperscalers. But in this particular instance, maybe I want to go and utilize one of the Llama models that's hosted on something like Hugging Face. And so I'm going to show you how you can do that. Our new custom model definition, it's actually an API that you can hit directly within the control room. And we've made all of this detail available within our documentation portal. We even provide you a fantastic Postman collection example to actually get started doing this. And so in this particular instance, I'm simply going to go and I'm going to log in real quick. So this is me just running a Postman command. This is just like if I logged in the CR, I get back the bearer token or OAuth credential there. I'm going to go and look at all the different models that I've got deployed so far. And you can see I've got one already deployed. It's the Gemini 2 model, and that's on Google Cloud Vertex AI. So this is a new Google model that I've deployed utilizing my details. But in this instance, I actually want to go and create a new one, as I mentioned earlier. So now we have this Hugging Face model. So Hugging Face, if you're not aware, this is an open source kind of a model directory, if you will. It's got about 600,000 different models, and I've decided I want to take advantage of a Llama 2 model. So I'm just going to send this request over super fast, and you can see at the very bottom here, if you're not familiar with Postman before, it gives me the response that came back from the API. Now, if I simply go and refresh this screen, give it a second to load. There we go. You should see, hopefully, I'll just call this Llama. And if I go look at my vendors, now there's a new one for Hugging Face. That one wasn't there before. And I can see the particular model that I want to go and work with. In this case, all I need to do now to create this as a model connection is provide some additional details here. I happen to have a credential already stored in the credential vault, and that's going to be my API key. And then I can go and test this connection. This is just going to send over kind of a test prompt to that model just to validate that my connection and my credentials are accurate. In this case, they appear to be. And then once this is done, I can now go and invite some roles. This is actually how you share a model connection within the organization. You're making sure that only the right people have access to it. So now you can see I've got my community Llama model. I think we should probably go ahead and use it. So as I mentioned earlier, there's a couple different ways to get started with AI skills. And we're really excited about this new capability that allows you to go take advantage of some of the pre-built templates that we've already built. So in order to access templates, you simply go into the control room, you go into the automation tab, you're in your private section of the repo, and I'm going to go to the create tab here and say from template. If you haven't seen this before, we've already shipped a number of great templates for both processes and task bots. AI Skill joins that now. And so as I mentioned earlier, got about 20 plus different pre-built templates here. In this particular case, let's take a look and see maybe what would be great. I'm going to go with draft and FAQ. If I click on this and I hit get started, I'll just give it an example name, FAQ skill, and I'll create that. Now, as a point of fact, if I'd clicked on the binoculars of any of those, I could have seen those as well. But you see it drops me directly into our AI skill editor. It's already pre-selected a model connection for me. In this particular case, I'm actually going to go and just move that to the new community Llama model that we created. So again, now I'm using that new model. I'll hit choose here. And you can see that in this particular instance, it says use the following document text to draft an FAQ, write it in a friendly but professional style, and here's all of the text. So imagine that you're getting all of this text, maybe from a support ticket, maybe from some other interaction with a customer, and you want to go and write an FAQ on that. So I'm going to go ahead and get response. What this is going to do behind the scenes is it's going to take all that prompt input you see on the right, and this is just test data. As you run this in an automation, obviously you'd be inserting data from the process. I'm going to send this over to the model. And then what will come back, as you can see here, is essentially my response. Now, all of this response information, along with the prompt itself, We track and audit and log and store all of this within our AI governance logs, and you have the opportunity to dive in and to see exactly what those details are as a way to promote safe use of generative AI across the organization. Now, the last thing I want to tell you about before I hand it over to Ollie to kind of show you how you can supercharge all of this is I did mention that we introduced a new capability around improving the accuracy of these model interactions as well. We call that enterprise knowledge, and it utilizes retrieval augmented generation as a service capability. So all you have to do is upload content. I've got another AI skill here. This particular AI skill actually goes and takes this finance document and it looks at the lending amount, the requested amount, a whole bunch of other sort of personal finance details of a borrower who wants to go and finance a car. It also gives, and it basically utilizes this document to go and build out a recommendation table. Should we give that person a loan? And if so, give me 4 or 5 different options as far as lease terms or loan terms. And that's exactly what this skill does. And it actually utilizes our enterprise knowledge capability for that. So in the exactly same way, you can see I've written this skill. It's a pretty meaty skill. It's got a lot of detail there. The key pieces are I need to get the annual income amount from the borrower as well as the loan requested amount. And I'm going to use that as I run to actually go and bounce that off of this particular document so that whenever the model comes back, it's not generic responses that have been trained on the internet. It's hyper-specific response trained on my data. And as I scroll down, you can actually see that it's given me a term table effectively with like 5 different sets of terms with length, rate, and payment amount, and all of that information came from our enterprise knowledge data. So I wish I could spend a lot more time with you guys going deeper. I think that's probably all the time that I have today. With that, I'm really excited to introduce you to these new features from our most recent release. And I really look forward to joining you guys in a future product club because there's a lot more cool things we're bringing with AI Agent Studio. With that, I'll stop sharing and I'll turn it back over to you, Lou.
Thanks, Jason. That was really, really cool. And I love seeing how everything is connected. Now we're going to dive into how to get the most value out of this. So Ollie, I'm going to hand it over to you.
Super. Thank you, Lou. And thanks for that, Jason, as well. That was awesome. I just want to say before I dive into the contents of this, a lot of the great stuff that we're doing in the product around AI will be showcased to you all in something that we're calling AI Training Camp, which we're expecting to launch probably in a couple of months' time. So keep your eyes on the Community Pathfinder pages. We'll be announcing that shortly. But what I'm going to be presenting to you now is a somewhat modified extract of the work that we're planning to do for that. And really, the aim behind this content I'm presenting is that previously, when we were building traditional robotic process automations, we'd be focusing, as Jason said earlier, on a task. And that task would very much be the entirety of a, say, a singular action. And if we were thinking about how we would go and automate the whole process, maybe we'd build a bot, but we'd acknowledge that we'd probably need to stitch that together with a human in between because there'd inevitably be decision making or there'd be unstructured data. But it was kind of really hard to stack the value together. You'd build your bot, it would no doubt release a ton of value, but kind of that would be it. And it would be potentially challenging to then go sticking it all together to automate the whole process. But we just wanted to cover today how we'll be tackling something as common as, say, customer support and tickets. And I'm going to run you through how that might happen manually today and how agents and tooling and the Automation Anywhere platform will enable you to connect multiple agents together and therefore stack the value. So let's run through a hypothetical support ticket here. And for anyone that's called Derek Martinez, I apologize. This was, I think, automatically generated from one of our prompts. No similarities intended at all. But you can see from the ticket here, Derek has bought a mop and he's having some trouble with his mop. It's leaving streaks all over his floor and he's incredibly frustrated. So if we think of what a typical customer support person might do when they receive this message, they'll begin to classify it or categorize it. So the person will be reading this and saying, okay, yeah, this definitely looks like a product support issue. But equally, it could be that Derek's so frustrated he wants a return, in which case that might be classified as a product return. Or maybe Derek is so impressed with his magic mop, he decides to buy a Hoover 3000, for instance, in which case that's a product sale. The reason they would classify that is because their next steps that would be taken would then change significantly. So in the case of this, which is clearly a product support issue, the customer support person will be thinking, okay, first thing I'm going to do is identify the issue, which appears to be he's got streaky flaws with his new product. So I'm going to need to go away and research this issue. How can I possibly resolve this for Mr. Martinez? And then once I've got the solution, I'm going to share that solution back with Derek to ensure that he's getting the most value from his purchase. But in order to get to the stage where I've got a solution, I need to extract all of this data from this ticket. And these are actions that you probably don't think, if you work or have ever worked in customer support, you probably don't think that you are actually extracting specific bits of data from a ticket. You just do it. Okay, it's the Magic Mop 2000, right? And it's got a streaky flaw. Cool. I'm going to take all that and I'm going to put that into my knowledge base, and I'm going to see what the most relevant article is that I could potentially share with the customer to resolve their query. So okay, it doesn't look like any of the answers are on here, so hopefully the customer support person found out the solution. And then once you've got that, this person would put that back into a ticket and send back to the customer. In this case, you should be using a branded cleaner fluid as well. So there you go. Not only are you getting product support with Automation Anywhere, you're also learning about how to avoid streaks on your floor when you're mopping. Now, if we think about everything that's taken place today, with the customer support person, we can actually map that to the capabilities that generative AI unlocks. And I did a talk on this at Pathfinder Summit, whereby I mentioned that actually generative AI has 8 really key capabilities that you can apply to any process. It has classification, sentiment analysis, named entity recognition, data transformation, summarization, translation, content generation, and the most impressive one is decision making as well. And I'm going to be selecting a handful of those and applying them to these steps, which the customer support person does in this specific scenario. And the first one with categorization, that is quite simply classification, because that person is applying a label to that email. It's product support, it's a product return, it's a product sale. Once you've got that classification, then it makes the decision making that will take place in the next step that little bit clearer. So in this case, you've got a recommendation of the next best actions to take in the context of the support ticket. Extracting and transforming. Well, in this case, that was taking specific values from the support ticket and extracting them. So we got the name of the mop and the customer issue specifically. And maybe we're transforming that. If we're hitting an API to get knowledge out of a system, then maybe we're transforming that into a JSON structure or part of an XML if it's going to be a SOAP request. Before we're then looking to summarize the issue, perhaps to paste that into our knowledge base as well, before we're generating new content, which would make up the basis of our reply back to the customers. So actually, all of these things which I showed in the previous slides, the relating to the support ticket, we can map to the capabilities of generative AI. And as we've been building the AI training camp, that's what we've been specifically focusing on, because once we've understood the very basics of what generative AI can do, then it becomes much easier to understand where you can potentially leverage these in processes within your organization. And ultimately begin to stack all of those capabilities over time. So right now, our poor customer support person is having to deal with these types of queries. So they're doing absolutely everything. But over time, we could start applying those capabilities and reduce the workload. So perhaps the first agent we build is a triage agent. So this could be an agent which could classify the ticket, as I covered previously, but maybe they translate it as well. So maybe we've got customers emailing from all over the world in Japanese and in Spanish. We could potentially get an LLM to translate that. Or if there's a heavy amount of technical jargon, perhaps the LLM and generative AI could translate that into simpler to understand terms. So the value impact of that is that we've got tickets maybe going to the right place because they're classified much quicker. Back when I was a CSM in automation anyway, the amount of times we'd have customers raise support tickets and they'd say it's actually about the control room when really it wasn't. It could have been about a networking issue on their end. That would honestly waste quite a lot of time because people read the ticket, try and understand whether that related to them. Oh, no, it doesn't. That's our networking team and pass it on. That's hours lost. And particularly for something as critical as an automation, that could be particularly painful. So classification could be really important. That could help drive and improve customer experience and also mean that the customer support person is spending less time having to work out, does this relate to me or should that be my colleague in product returns? And potentially, it also means that you can have customer support people in one location. You don't need to have teams of people who are experts in maybe Japanese or something like that. So a triage agent could perhaps be where we get started. And before I move on, clarify what I mean by agent, because I'm conscious it's a term which gets bandied about a lot, especially on LinkedIn. So when we say agent, we're referring to a system that coordinates the use of multiple tools, whereby a tool could be an AI skill, it could be an API task, it could be a bot. And we're going to be diving into how to build those in the AI training camp as well. Perhaps the next agent we think about stacking into this process flow is a research agent. So this would be an agent that would extract that data from the support ticket. Okay, it's the magic mop. Derek's got streaky floors. We'd then transform that into a JSON structure, which maybe we ping to a knowledge base, which returns 5 results. And then the LLM would begin to sort through those results and determine which is the most suitable to then potentially share with the customer. So this would speed up the resolution significantly. And perhaps if it's not the agent recommending the best solution, it could be the agent saying to the customer support person, these are the top 5 knowledge base articles that I think you should go away and look at. So that would potentially save the customer support person having to dig through hundreds of KB articles trying to find the right one. And obviously, this is pretty simple. We're talking about homeware, so I imagine it wouldn't be too difficult to get to the bottom of the streaky flaws in the email. But if this was something technical, it could be hours spent trying to find a solution. So the impact of that would be much faster resolution times, customer satisfaction, and I imagine our employee would be pretty satisfied as well because he's not lost in the midst of a potential SQL database running queries back and forth. And then finally, the other agent we could stack as well could be a content agent. So we've got our solution. It would now fall on this agent to summarize that, make it readable for the customer, and potentially also draft a solution as well. So maybe this could go to the customer support person and say, hey, here's one draft that I think we could send. Also, here's another. Pick which draft you'd like, and then it could fall on the customer support person to ultimately send that email. So they would be the human decision maker or even the human in the loop. So the value that this would create, hopefully, is pretty straightforward. It's going to speed up the resolution of crafting this email. You'd also be able to understand the tone of the original email. So if the customer, say, Derek, the sentiment in that email was really negative, then you might choose to apply a softer tone in your email reply to try and keep him satisfied as well. Perhaps over time as well, you might look and see, actually, Derek Martinez has bought quite a few of these mops before, and he's been really vocal about how great it's been on social media. So maybe instead of recommending the floor cleaner to him, we send it to him free of charge because he's such a great customer. You can start building in and stacking this level of knowledge over time and really adding value, which perhaps would just be out of the question for your existing customer support setup. And when you've considered stacking it, then this is how it would potentially look in the Automation Anywhere platform. So you would have your automation layer and your human or decision-making layer. So sitting above all that, obviously the customer support. So we'd have our bots, which might feed the email over to all of the different agents and would potentially orchestrate it. So we'll be building an autonomous agent which covers this particular use case in the AI training camp very shortly. And we'll be showing you how you can, with the existing platform, just connect all of these together with the new process composer. Sending that over to our customer support person, who then decides what actions they want to take, and then potentially send that off to the customer as well. So this was just a sort of a quick run through of how you can start looking at an end-to-end process like customer support and think, what activities does our customer support person do now that actually generative AI can do? So we know generative AI can understand sentiment, it can extract data, it can make decisions, it can translate. Let's apply those to what a human is doing now and gradually over time begin to stack them. Because once we start stacking them, that's when we can begin to stack the value and get great outcomes out of it. And in a case such as this, it doesn't necessarily need to be a let's automate all of it. Let's just focus on one little bit of a time and shift the customer support's responsibility a little bit further down the down that process. So really excited to show you what we're building in the product at Automation or AI Training Camp. So yeah, keep your eyes out on the Pathfinder website for that. It's going to be awesome.
Amazing. Thanks, Ollie. We did get some pretty good questions as we were going through. So I saw one come through. Jason, I believe this one's for you. In which version is this available, the AI skills and the template?
Yeah, so we just shipped this in our most recent release, where we call it the .35 version internally, but it should have hit all of our public cloud customer tenants in January, as well as being available for on-prem usage for our on-prem customers.
Awesome, thank you.
Mhm.
And then where can I read more about how to write AI training skills?
I don't know if that's for me or for Ollie. I'll take a stab at it. I mean, I think the focus around building skills in the first place, you need to have some core fundamental understandings around, models, and no model is great at all tasks. There are definitely some models that are better at certain workloads or certain types of tasks that Ollie referred to earlier than others. Luckily, with AI Agents Studio, we provide you the ability to evaluate and test different models with the same prompt. So even if you're not sure which model to use, you probably have access to at least 1 to 2 to 3 different models in your organization. I would say test all 3. And then as far as writing the actual prompt itself, there's lots of great resources. I think, Ollie, I don't know if we covered any of that specifically in the training that you're talking about, but what we're doing right now is a simple user prompt. We're actually going to be bringing new prompting capabilities in our next release, which will come out here in the spring, to even make the accuracy of your prompts even better.
And then,
Yeah, just to
sorry.
mention that we've got a course on the university that Max did called Prompt Engineering for Developers. That is a great resource. I recommend that. And we will be covering a lot of this in AI training camp as well. So yeah, keep your eyes out on that. But we've got quite a lot already on the university too. Stephen's put that in the chat. Thank you, Stephen. Yeah, really appreciate it.
Yeah, and
lightning.
I'll add that to the recap on the community page as well. So once that's posted, you can head over there and this link will be there also. Can we expect this to be tested from Community Edition in the near future?
We are, for the AI training camp, we are currently doing the testing now to make sure that will be available to users who choose to follow along in their control rooms, but also in the community edition too. So the specifics of what we're building, because the scope's still slightly up in the air, I can't comment yet as to whether the community, you'll be able to do that from the community, but there's certainly a lot of stuff you can do in the community that would enable you to start playing around with agentic process automation for sure. Whether it be as fully fledged as you get in the enterprise control room, I'm not sure yet. So yeah, we'll take that away in post. Hey, Lou, I notice we've got some other stuff that's come through the webinar chat as well, if I can answer that. Sarika's got some good questions. So Will it create a dynamic flow based on the user query, meaning the agentic AI framework? Yes, that is something that we are building out in the training camp. We're going to show you, we're going to do an end-to-end build as a final conclusion. So you will have learned about leveraging or building prompts for all of the generative AI capabilities that I covered in my presentation. And then at the end, we'll be pulling those all together to do a fully end-to-end build, which covers the cases like the support tickets that I mentioned earlier. And we'll be doing it two ways. We'll be doing it in a deterministic way where you can stack AI skills together. It's impressive, but it really doesn't put decision making into the hands of the LLM. So we'll also be doing an autonomous build as well. So really we've got at the heart of this process a decision making capability. So the LLM will have full responsibility to decide which tools or which agents it wants to call in order to answer the very topic of the customer support. And we'll be wrapping things in like human decision making. So if anything doesn't meet a certain threshold, that goes to a human to review. But yeah, you end up at a point where ultimately the prompts you have in your decision making agent is the orchestrator, because that dictates what tools or what agents the decision making or orchestrating agent calls. And you also learn about how you pass state around one another or within the platform. So it's going to be super impressive. We're really proud of it.
Follow-up question, does it have capability to take action based on instructions and goals?
Absolutely. Yeah, which is the structure of agentic process automation is very much that you give it the context of what tools it has available to it. And if you've used Process Composer before in the product, you'll know that when an API task or a taskbot runs, you can then pass that state to the next action or even back up to a previous action. So you can give it the context of what tools it has available, but also give it the knowledge of what's previously happened. So off the basis of that, it can say, I don't need to run the classification because that's already run. And I know this has been classified as product support. So if I know it's product support and I know that my ultimate goal is to write an email reply to the customer with a product solution, then I'm going to go and extract all the data from the email. And then I'm going to go and take all of that extraction and put that into a bot which goes off and queries the knowledge base. Then I'm going to summarize, et cetera, et cetera. So a lot of this can be achieved just through really solid prompt engineering framework. So we're going to be covering CoStar, which is the context, objective, style, tone, audience, and response. And if you follow that framework, you get a pretty awesome set of outputs, which you can then leverage as part of an agentic setup. So yeah, I'm talking a lot, but all of this will be covered in the AI training camp.
Thank you. Any other questions? While you all are thinking, I am posting the link to March's product club session in the chat. So go ahead, head here, register. It is on Automation Cloud Services. We're super excited to dive into this one with you, and it will be a lot of fun, just like this one was. I don't see any other questions. Oh, how to take part in AI training camp.
Keep an eye on the Pathfinder community. We'll be posting everything related to AI training camp in there. So whilst we don't have a specific date yet, I imagine it will be within the next couple of months. But yeah, everything, how you join, the prerequisites, that'll be posted on the Pathfinder community.
And I don't think it's happening in March. So join the next product club in March, and I will have that information and I will be sharing it there. And we will do some forum posts about it and probably post something in the events page as well.
And it'll be all over LinkedIn. If you follow even one of us on LinkedIn, you're gonna be seeing the AI training camp. I'll make sure of it.
It's going to be an awesome time, and we are all so pumped about it. So you're going to be like, okay, I've heard enough about AI training camp at this point. All right.
Yeah,
Great.
we basically got sick of seeing everyone talk about agentic process automation, talking about it, not doing anything with it. So we'll be addressing that very soon.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Jason and Ollie, so much for joining. We really appreciate it. Oh, we have one more question. Is AI agent
Yes.
released, and to whom
Yeah.
can I?
We released, AI Agent Studio is GA. It actually released last summer here in the US, so in the July timeframe. And I think we're on like our 4th update since then. So we're updating every release. There's some new goodies that are coming along with that. And I would just say reach out to your local account team. They're all enabled to get you plugged into how to take advantage of it.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone. I will let you go. Have a great rest of your day. When you log off, you'll be prompted to complete a survey. Again, please complete it. It helps us navigate things for the next session. So thanks for joining. We'll see you later.